Hey, what is it guys? Welcome back to this game's tutorial. Today we start doing a little bit of modeling. We do simple, very simple models for our hub scene. And as you can tell, this is going to be a table. This is going to be the war table. So in the end, I'm planning to have like a texture of the map here. You know, something that looks like we're planning out war, I guess. And on this side is the loot. So whenever you're pressing on the loot button, well, the loot hub object, you're gonna go zoom on that chest, and inside of that chest there's gonna be like iron ingot, ruby, unicorn, foxes, cat, all that kind of good stuff. And over here is the research table, so you're gonna be starting your research from here. Now of course they're not really placed where I want them to be eventually, but we just start modeling a little bit, we get a feel of Blender, and we also, if you're new, hopefully just practice keybind a little bit, because this software is a good transition in terms of keybind. It's a good transition from 3ds Max or Maya. So guys, without further ado, let's actually get started. Alright guys, so let's get started right away. So like I said, we're not going to be in Unity today, we're going to be completely in Blender. And now the keybinds I'm going to use are going to be displayed down here. If you're already familiar with Blender, I hope you are, then you don't really need to look at those. But I'll try and just let's say them out loud as I do stuff. So the first thing I'll do with Blender, this is like a basic scene that I've just opened, and it's a default scene basically. So you got to right click on all the objects you see, and I'm simply going to delete everything. So right click, then I'm going to click on X and then delete. Now this way I have a clean scene, and I'm going to save it somewhere inside of my asset folder. Oh, sorry, not inside of my asset folder, but just outside of it. So I'll navigate over to my folder, which is under the tower right here. And then this is the asset folder. This is the one you see in Unity, and then inside of the asset folder is, of course, pretty much everything else. Now what I'll be doing is I'll actually create a new folder in here called models. And this is where I'll be just putting my scene. We're going to start with the first one. The first one is going to be actually just the hub scene. Let's just put the whole hub scene in here, and we're going to save it as a .blend file. Alright, so now this is our hub scene. It's pretty small, and it's you know, nothing's in there yet. So what I'll be doing is I'll just make sure to be in the front perspective for now. Then I'm going to press 5 on my numpad, so I go back in orthographic, and I'm going to hit Shift A to create a mesh. We're going to start with, say, I feel like doing a cylinder. And the first thing I'll do is actually the war table, so I'm just going to model a table really quickly. And over here, if I can get back this menu I had a second ago, I'm not really good with Blender. I have this over here, the add cylinder thing that I've just done. So I'm just going to put that on 8 faces, and this way I can actually have 8 faces. This is going to be one of the leg of the table. Now let me go back in this mode. I'll move it over, say, here. And scale it down a bit. And now if you take a look at this grid, every square is actually 1 meter. So say we want to make a table that is 2 meter long and maybe like 1 meter in width. So we'll want to have something like this. I'm going to use a mirror on this axis and also a mirror on this axis. So maybe if we put it here, if you just go ahead and hit Control A, apply the rotation and scale, then you can have some actual good value up here. So I'll be putting that at 1 in X and minus 0.5, or let's go with 0.5 in Y, like this. And of course you can scale it down if we want to scale it down. This is going to be 1 leg, and then I'll go ahead and just apply the modifier right away. So where are my modifier? Over here. I'll be using a mirror. Where is the mirror? Here it is. And I think the pivot point is actually not at the right place right now. So what I will be doing is I'll quickly remove that mirror, and I will hit Shift C on the keyboard. This way my 3D cursor actually goes in the middle of the world, and then go under Transform, Set Origin to 3D Cursor. Now my origin is here. Then I can go back and actually add a mirror. And as you can tell, it mirrored on the X-axis, like so. Let's actually mirror on the Y-axis, and this way we can actually see this going on. Now my mesh is the one here, I believe. So I'm going to hit, I'm going to go back in edit mode, and if we move this mesh, as you can tell, we're pretty much just moving all the 4 legs of the future table. Alright, so the first thing I'll do is actually make sure I select the face beneath this, and I'll put that on Z0. This way it's actually touching the floor, and then I'll actually delete that face because I don't need it. Since it's actually below the table, I don't really see it. Now as for this one, we get to choose what is the actual size of well, the height of the table. So let's go with something. If I just quickly reset the scale again, so I'll just choose the whole thing, Control A. Oh, I gotta be in object mode. Control A, reset rotation and scale. Go back in edit mode. Now let's see, what could be the size of this? We are going to go for something like 0.5. Is that too small? Yeah, let's go with 0.7. That is a little bit more accurate with, I guess, real life table. And I will also be deleting this object here, this face. Don't really need it. I'm going to be going for something really simple since I'm kind of a beginner with Blender. And of course, I'm trying to just win a little bit of time with this art tutorial because everybody's going to have like a different art set. But if you don't know how, this is what those videos are for. Alright, the second object I will create by holding Shift and A is an actual cube. And this cube is going to be the top of the table, I believe. So we're just going to scale it down until it makes a little bit more sense. Move it just on top of this object. Maybe like so. We can also place it manually, as you can tell right here. 1 in X, 0.5 in Y. And now the object is perfectly at the right place, and I'll just be putting it, say, like that. Then take the bottom face and just scroll it up a little bit, maybe like this, so 0.6. I like to be like super precise with what I do here. 0.7. Alright, now what we need to do is actually take these two faces, these one, and pull them towards the middle axis over here. In this case, this is 0 in X, and in this case, this is 0 in Y. This way, we have this kind of setup going on. Now, what we're going to do is actually select these two faces we just made. I'm pressing Z to actually see through, and we're going to delete those. So I'm deleting this face, and I'm also deleting this face. This way, there's no actual face in the center of that. And that is pretty much our water table. However, we're going to be like working it out a little bit more. Now I'll press on E to actually offset this, not offset, sorry, but create a new face, and then S, and I'll just scale it inward, say like, oh, I messed up. I'll just scale it inward, so it looks something like this. And now with those, I'll just press E again and just go down a little bit like this. Okay, now it's time to clean up. I'm going to be cleaning up all those faces over here, remove them. So remove, let's go ahead and remove faces, and then let's just put that back where it is supposed to be. So I'll go with the pixel, not pixel but vertex, one by one. I'll just be moving them at the right place. So this is where it goes, this is where it goes, and these two go back in the center. Alright, so we have some kind of water table going on now. Of course, all we really need in the middle of that is some texture, I guess. We'll find that out a little bit later, but now let's actually keep going. So that was our first object, the water table. And I will just simply grab this thing and move it. Move it somewhere away. We'll go back to it a little bit later on when we just set up the whole scene together. Alright, the second object I'd like to have, I actually have like some little sketch drawing here. And they're really not pretty. Let's go with a chest. This is going to be for the loot. So the water table is for the missions, and now the chest is going to be just for loot. So we're going to start with a nice cube. Why not? The cube is going to be named chest. I'm also going to rename the actual water table. Here they are. Choose my cube, and we're going to go into edit mode. Oh, and I kind of messed up the position of that, so I'll hit Control C in object mode, and then just put the origin at the center here. I mean at the 3D cursor. Then go back in edit mode, just put that on 0, 0, and 0, it should be reset. Alright, so we're trying to make a chest here, so what I'll be doing, how big should a chest be? Let's go ahead and just make it 1 meter in length. So basically all we're going to need here is just to scale this up a little bit so it fits a single square, maybe like this. It doesn't have to be super precise, but hey, this is going to work. Alright, so this is 1 meter. And I'm simply just going to, I'm not going to remove the bottom of this one for some reason. I just feel like it might actually be flipped around at one point. And here we go. We just raise this up a little bit. This side is going to be scaled down on the x-axis, so maybe this could actually look like a chest. Alright, and then we're simply going to just take this face now, press on E and scale it inward. This way we can actually have a inside of that chest. Then press E and just go down like that, not too far away. I mean, we don't have to go through, but right about here. We're going to be putting objects in that chest, so it's going to be like a full chest. Alright, so we've got the base here. Now, as for the second part of it, what could we do for the second part of it? It should be an actual cylinder. Can we actually do that in Blender? Of course we can. Of course we can. We used one for the table. Okay, so we're going to create a cylinder on top of that. Rotate it. If I can just press on the right keybind, rotate it this way. On, is it the x-axis? Yep, the x-axis. I'll be rotating it for about 90 degrees, like this, and then I'll just scale it down. So it fits the same size, like so. And let's actually just go back up here. And we're going to be removing half of it. So I'll be removing these two faces, this one, and also the one at the back. And should I actually remove these? I'm going to keep all of these faces, so I'm going to keep those 4 faces. And we're simply just going to link them together somehow. And I'm saying somehow because I really don't know yet. Alright, so we're going to connect those two first. Alright, so I'm going to take one of these edges down here. I'll just extrude it on the z-axis like so, and then I'll just make sure it matches the same height as that. And I'll just take the z over here on this very edge, Control C, and then just paste it on the other one so it's actually on the same length. Now that this is done, I'll go back to using my vertex selection and I'll just cap this together. And then we'll do another triangle here, another triangle there, and we're making just a bunch of triangles. Same thing on the other side. Oops. That's the wrong one. And that is just great. Alright. Now that we've used this mesh before, this object before, we are going to be removing face. That's what I meant. Now that we've used this face, we're going to be removing it. And try to create some hollow in that. Try to create some actual inside of that panel. So, I will be using my edges tool. Holding Alt, I will right click on this one. And can I just press on E and then S? Yeah, I can scale that down like so. Now you might want to be scaling it differently on both axes, so maybe just leave a really small width here, and then I'm going to press S again and only scale on the Z axis to get a bigger width here. Alright, and then we can actually just make that not hollow, but just pull this inward on, say, the x-axis, and then I'm going to be connecting these. So I'll just be extruding through that, and we'll take this mesh, sorry, not this mesh, just a vertex up here. I'll shift click on this one, Alt M, and we will merge at last. Or we could actually be merging at center. Okay, no, never mind. So that's going to work. Alt M, merging at last, Alt M, and at last. I'm always using the default Blender keybind, but you could be changing them because Alt M is pretty bad. Alright, so we get something of the sort. I'm just going to pull that back inside, and that's going to be our very low poly chest. And now the whole thing doesn't look right, so I'll just be scaling it on the y-axis. It's a little bit bigger like that. Alright, so I'll just put that on the side. We have the nice base of it. We're going to be giving it some more detail a little bit later on, so just adding some stuff inside of here, and of course maybe making something out of this whole thing here. Maybe just scaling it a little bit more and give it an actual slight rotation that could actually help quite a lot. You get the picture. So maybe something like that eventually. Now I'll go back in object mode, take this and just move it on the side. So that's our second object done. What is the next one, and how long have we been doing this for? Alright, almost 15 minutes, so we can actually do one more. We actually need another table, and the other table is going to be for the research. Now we're not going to be complicating things too much. I'll just take my wartable, click here, do a Control-C, Control-V to duplicate, and it doesn't seem to work, so, well, now it did work when I click over here. Then I'll move this second wartable, I'll just rename it for research table, and we'll just be modifying it slightly. So where is my 3 cursor? It's actually at the right place. The pivot is at the right place, so I'll just be putting that in the center. And now we're back with an actual table. So what I feel like doing with this one is actually just remove the hollow part in it. So maybe this is now gone. And we're simply going to connect these back together. So I will go ahead and just use this tool. And do we actually need this extra vertex here? I don't think we do, so we're going to be deleting this vertex, and also this one and this one. We can now go back in edit mode, which we already are, and pull this towards this side by pressing E. And we're going to make sure to connect this vertex and then this one, doing a Alt-M, Atlas, and then just moving that at the right place. Right, so now we have a table that isn't hollow, and let's actually fix that as well. There we go. So on top of this table, we are going to be doing a cylinder. So just try to create some kind of research vial. I actually like the feel of that quite a lot. So should we be using a cylinder or a cube? I'm actually going to go for the cylinder first, and then we'll see what we need. And now when we create that single cylinder, that's, you know, this still happens. So we still have the mirror modifier, and I'd like to actually remove that, and I don't quite know how to do it. I think we can just hit apply, and then modifier cannot be applied in edit mode. So we'll go back to object mode, hit apply, and here we go. So that is our new mesh. Now we pretty much created 3 additional cylinders for nothing. So we are going to go ahead and just select 3 of them, hit Control L, X, and remove. So we're back with a single one of these. And since we're here, we can also just make this a single piece, so we don't really have, well, you know what, we have the sides here. Yeah, we could be like removing these edges. So I'm gonna go in edges selection, hold Alt and select all of these, Shift Alt and select also all of these. Now I'm going to do dissolve edges, and they're now gone, and we have that single table. Same thing could be done to the wartable as soon as you feel like optimizing your game a little bit, I guess. Alright, so back to our vial. I'm going to be using this whole object. Then we're going to be putting it in the center, I believe, so somewhere here. And we're going to start crafting a vial. At least try to. So I'll be using the bottom side of it. Make it a little bit bigger, like so. And we can also just press on E, scale it down in the Z-axis. Not scale it down, but move it down on the Z-axis, something like that. And then again on the Z-axis, and then scale it inward. Maybe something of the sort. I'll just move it up a little bit. That would be the bottom of the vial here. And then I'm just assuming that it's going to be like transparent material inside of it, and we can put some liquid or something like that. However you feel like, we can pretty much achieve any kind of effect. So is this too big? Yeah, this is definitely too big. We'll fix it eventually. And this part bothers me a little bit, so we'll be raising it above the ground. Maybe something of the sort. Alright. And as for the end of it, I will just move it up like this. And I think this could actually work. We don't need a lot of details, and I'm actually using a lot of polygons for a small object like these. But hey, I'm just trying something out. Alright, and I don't think we need an actual inside of that, so we'll just be leaving it here, like this. And then I'll just take the whole object by hitting Control L while having one of these faces selected, scale it down a little bit, and it's going to go on the research table. Now, what else could actually go on the table filled with research? We could do a small book. Why not? I'm going to spawn a cube. We are going to scale it down a little bit. Just put it on the table and scale it up. Well, scale it the way you want to have it. So maybe like this is big for a book, I guess. It's almost 1 meter. Yeah, don't forget about like the actual size of this in the game. But you could be making whatever looks good. So this is like 0.5 meter or maybe like 0.6. Still, scale this the way you want it to be, so maybe something of the sort. Scale it on the z-axis as well. That's going to be my book right there. And we can add a texture to that. Doesn't need to be having any more vertex than that. Remember that we're on mobile phone and the screen is quite small. So also maybe like a slight rotation to make this more organic, more realistic looking, I guess. Then I'll just be moving this right about there. And then that is our book at the very end of the table. We can have more than one, so you can go ahead and just create a new book. Rotate it on the z-axis, why not? And just stack it, or something of the sort. You just be creative with this as much as you want, and I will just go for something like that. So that's like 2 book stacks on top of each other. Save this, and I'm going to be calling it a day for this object. As like I said, I don't really want to be taking too much time for this, but you pretty much understand the base, and you can make some more object for the rest of the scene. So in the middle is our wartable. Still need a little bit more detail in the center. We need some kind of map or something like that. That's our research table. Could have some more nice element on it. The chest could have some items in it, such as our own item we have in the game, such maybe like unicorn. If you're able to just make unicorn, just put that in the chest, or a iron bar, gold bar, anything really. So I think I'm going to be calling it a day for this episode, as we have been spending quite a lot of time just with the basic of Blender, I guess, and just like creating some simple shape, simple object for a hub scene. And I will be continuing that tomorrow. And I'm also going to practice a little bit because I suck at this. Alright guys, I hope you enjoy, I hope you learned something, and if you did, please leave me a like, really appreciate that. If you have any comment or question, please leave them in the comment section below, and also subscribe for more tutorials like these. Check out the Patreon page, and yeah, cool. I will see you guys next time.